All right, this is lesson 15-2. Today we're going to talk about the triangle angle sum theorem and the exterior angle theorem. So we have just these two concepts. The triangle angle sum theorem is pretty cool. It's maybe already intuitive to you or something you've learned before. I'm trying to make a straight line that continues across there, and obviously it's not the easiest thing for me. We'll pretend that that's straight there, and then I want to try to draw a parallel line. My goal is to prove to you. Okay, let's pretend that those are parallel. So, all right. I want to prove to you that if we add up all of the angles inside of the triangle, they should equal 180 degrees. So imagine for a minute that this is a transversal cutting through these yellow parallel lines. We know that A is alternate interior, that angle, to that angle right there. So they are congruent because the lines are parallel. So whatever measure we had for A in there, it's going to be A up there as well. And then if we also had a transversal right here, we have an alternate interior angle right there with C that would be congruent. Now I want you to notice that A, B, and C all together make this straight line. So altogether they have to equal 180 degrees. So that's one way that we can prove that the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C equals 180 degrees. If we were in class, I would have you take a piece of paper and cut a triangle out of it. It could be any triangle, so maybe somebody would do one like this. And then I would have you label each of the corners 1, 2, or 3, like that. And then I would have you cut or just tear off the sides of the triangle. So we like tear that off, tear that off, tear that off. And then I would have you put all of the points together. So that point, that point, that point. So then we'd have like, here's angle 1 maybe, and angle 2, and there's angle 3. And you would see that together they would make a straight line. If you have the resources to do this, I recommend that you try it. It's sort of hands-on learning that will help the concept stick in your brain a little bit better, I think. So it's worth, whoops, I thought I was erasing. It's worth the time to try that out if you're interested in doing that. Okay, so with that knowledge, what can we do? Well, over here, they've given us the measure of 2 of the angles inside the triangle, but we have to find the measure of the third angle. And I know that if I add up 24 plus 37 plus whatever I get for angle 1, it should equal 180 degrees. So what I'm going to do is take 180 minus 24 and minus 37. And if I subtract both of those things, I end up with 119 degrees. And it may not be a bad idea to add those 3 together and make sure that they do equal 180. Okay, let's look at example 2. This one is a little bit more complex, all right? So we have a triangle here on the right, and we know one of these angles is 43 degrees. The other 2 we don't know. We have a large triangle here. We have 2 of the angles. One of them is 43 degrees, one is 66 degrees, but this is a combo angle. Like we could figure out what that whole thing is, but it wouldn't give us an answer for 1 or 2. So I'm just looking and looking to see if there's something where I can start, and I think this is a good starting place, right? We have 2 angles here, and we know that the third angle has to equal 180. So let's start with angle 1. We're going to find 180 minus 66 minus 84. If I subtract all of that stuff away, I'm left with 30. So the measure of angle 1 is 30 degrees. Okay, we could move on to angle 2 or angle 3 here. I encourage you to pause the video, see if you can figure out how to find those. Angle 3 forms a linear pair with this 84-degree angle. So if I were to take 180 minus 84, I would find that that angle is 96 degrees. Now, you may have used a different way to find that answer, which is totally great. If you use my same way, that's fine too. So either way works out. If we knew that this is 96 degrees, then we can find the measure of angle 2 by taking 180 minus 96 minus 43, and that would give us our answer up here, which is 41 degrees, right? You may have taken a step to find that this whole thing is 71 degrees, and then if you knew that one was 30, the other was 41, or vice versa. So lots of ways to solve the same problem. Whichever way works for you is the best way. Okay, the next, so that's our first concept. So taking a look over here, you can see that problem 2 on the homework is very similar to the one that we just solved. We kind of have to be careful and decide which one to do first, and then we can find some of the other stuff. Problem 3, we have this word that bisects, so watch for that one. That'll give you some clues about what to do. Remember that if something bisects something, it cuts it exactly in half. So whatever measure the big thing was, we just divide that by 2. Number 3, this is going to rely on some of our knowledge from last time, right? So you might want to use alternate interior angles, linear pairs, in addition to this new thing. Okay, let's learn the second concept of today's video. This is exterior angle theorem. And this says an exterior angle is formed by extending any one side of the triangle. So that's sort of a vocabulary term that we'll want to watch. If they just took this side of the triangle and said, now we're going to keep going, then this angle that's outside of the triangle, exterior, on the exterior of the triangle, is our exterior angle. And they're saying that it has a relationship with angles 2 and 3. Now let me show you something that I think could be handy here. If I'm going to call this angle right here, we'll call it like 4, right? I know that if I add up the measures of angles 2, 3, and 4, it should equal 180 degrees, right? If we took measure of angle 2 plus measure of angle 3 plus measure of angle 4, it should equal 180 degrees. I also know that these two form a linear pair, right? They make a straight line. So if I add the measures of angles 1 and 4, a linear pair is also 180 degrees. Okay, so in our proofs, we were using the transitive property. Do you remember that? So since these equations both equal 180, then they have to equal each other. So I'm just going to go ahead and use some space down here to write this. So we know the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 4 equals the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 4. Okay, if I subtract the measure of angle 4 from both sides, look what we have. We're saying that if you add up the measure of angles 2 and 3, it equals the measure of angle 1. That's the external angle theorem. Okay, so it may be worth your time to pause here, think about it for a while, make sure that it's intuitive to you, that it makes sense. If it doesn't, maybe rewind and watch that part again. But essentially, we were saying that these three have to add up to be 180. These two have to add up to be 180. And they're both just missing this part. The same part is missing. So those have to be equal to each other. Okay, again, pause if you need to, study that up. I'm going to erase this so that I have space for our next couple of problems. All right, so let's take a look at this one. This is a pretty straightforward external angle theorem question. They've given us the measure of angle 1. They've given us 79 degrees down there, so we can use this theorem to get there. We could also, if we wanted, find that angle and then use the other theorem. So if that's your call, you can, but let's practice this way. We know that the measure of angle 1 plus 79 has to equal 104. So we could just go like 104 minus 79, right? And that's going to give us the measure of angle 1. which ends up being 25 degrees. Yeah. And just for kicks, I think this other one ends up being 76 degrees, doesn't it? So if you wanted to use that way, you could. That one. All right, let's try example 4. Solve for x, then find each angle measure. Okay, this one actually isn't an external angle theorem problem. This is the triangle angle sum theorem problem. They've given us an expression for all 3 interior angles, and we know that if we add them all up, since they form a triangle, they have to equal 180 degrees. So we could do 5x minus 2 plus 9x plus 3, right? I'm taking this plus 11x minus 21, and I'm running out of space. All of that has to equal 180 degrees. All 3 of those together equal 180. So let's combine like terms over here. We'll have 5 plus 11 plus 9. That's going to be 25x. Negative 2 plus 3 is 1. Minus 21, that's 25x minus 20 equals 180. If we add 20 to both sides, we get 200 equals 25x. Divide both sides by 25, and we're going to get that x equals 8 right here. Now to find the measure of angle D, we can just do 5 times 8 minus 2. That's going to be 38 degrees. To find the measure of angle E, we can do 9 times 8 plus 3. That's going to be 75 degrees. And for angle F, we'll do 11 times 8 minus 21. That's going to be 67 degrees. All right, guys, that's it for the lesson today. Hope things are going well for you. Please let me know if you have any questions. And there's your homework assignment. Should be good. Bye.